Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and so on. Now, it is no coincidence that their capacity to deliver has come at a time when those nations have opened up to partners. Those nations have made it almost their playbook to create an environment where partners are streaming in, state and non-state actors, public and private sector, governments, individuals are streaming in to say, how can we help you make your story better? How can we help you make your story seem even more attractive when beamed on CNN? Because partners get their sense of satisfaction and fulfillment from the fact that you, government, have succeeded. They get their sense of fulfillment from looking at the faces of the citizens you serve, smiling faces, praising faces, and you see the lives transform. That is what partnership is all about, and that's what stimulates people like me and the organization that I founded alongside my wife, the Ige Mokwere Foundation. We actually have members of our foundation in this very room. I see Dr. Awoshika, who you consider one of you as a public servant, and I also consider one of us as a partner. Thank you. So now, reform essentially means change. And change by its very nature is not easy to do. It's very, very challenging to do. And reform environments are very dynamic. Reform environments are very unpredictable. Reform environments require skills that are very unique, sometimes technical, sometimes non-technical in nature. But let me tell you something that I have come to learn. You can build courage. Somebody who today lacks courage can have courage built into them. You can teach leadership. Courage, leadership, and the things that make reform succeed are not things that are blessed unto you at birth. These are things that you learn. These are things that you acquire. And the best place to acquire these things are from people who have gone through the same very process of learning, adaptation, and skill building that you need yourself, who have done so successfully. And so, what I have found is that where a public institution or a public servant meets a partner who has been through the road that you traverse and has done so successfully, the key ingredient is a shared understanding that I can give you knowledge, skills, experience acquired from the journey that you are going on, and I can help you succeed in the mandate that you have been given. But most importantly, that I understand your pains and I am here as a partner, not to betray you, not to berate you, but indeed to act as something of a blessing to that which you must do. And so my experience has been when this connection is made in this way, great things happen. Our challenge really in Africa and our challenge indeed in Nigeria is that these connections are too far and few between. One, the numbers of partners are not as large as the challenge that is required. Two, the relationship between the partners and the public service is not as effective as it should be. Most importantly, the fuel for partnership, which should be shared success, shared conscience, shared, if you like, destiny, is one that is fostered through very soft things, not hard things. And we do not spend enough time on the soft power of partnership. I think that if we want to learn how to partner, the partnership that exists between the Ige Mokwere Foundation and the Office of the Head of Service of the Federation, and if you like, the ministries, departments, and agencies that work closely with that office is a case study in how partnership can transform this nation. Together, we have done things that many people thought were impossible. Together, we will do things that will make not just the public service proud, but more importantly, the entire country and its citizens proud. Most importantly, I think that our partnership will serve as a template for the many others who are still standing on the sidelines to come in and do the job of transforming our nation. Thank you very much. I'll join you now and we'll take questions.
Thank you so much. I've noted down a few key points there. I really like what you said around the changing world around us, citizens expecting quite rightly more and more from their governments in terms of improved service delivery, those big challenges in the world, climate change, shifting demographics. Those are something that the public sector and the private sector have to address together if we're going to find the solutions. I'm going to start with what you ended there, saying you have this great case study of a good relationship between the head of the civil service of the Federation and the private sector. How could you help Didi and her team to scale that up so that other people across the civil service and across the private sector, the public sector, start to build those relationships? What are the actual things people could be doing?
Thank you for that very, very important question. Scale is critical for success in Nigeria. We're a very large nation, approaching 250 million people. The geographical expression of Nigeria is very wide, and our political structure is indeed quite complex. So when you achieve reform at a, well, even if it's significant actually by most countries' standards, it's really like almost a toothpick in a jar of water or something like that. So scale is very important to get the ripple effects and to work through the system. And I think for me that has been our most significant challenge. How do you take success with one department and then replicate it across the entirety of government? The answer to that, I think, is at the executive. The public service is run by the public servant, but the authority of the public service comes from, if you like, Mr. President and the appurtenances around that office. And I believe that statements from the president's involvement of the presidency is the one thing that can cause scale very, very fast. So if executive orders are put behind reform activities, then you can get adoption at a much faster rate than currently exists. I would like to see from the presidency, Mr. President, I would like to see demands on the civil service. The capacity within the civil service exists, but I think that when the civil service is told, go paperless by this date, and it will happen. And I'm saying across all ministries. When the civil service is told, issue passports digitally by this date, so that is the one thing that is going to tip the balance as I see it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because Mr. President will be here shortly. It'll be interesting if that comes up in what he says, in his words. I will be coming to the audience in a moment, so just to give you a heads up, I have 2 more questions and then I'm going to throw it over to the audience. You mentioned about smart nations embracing partnerships and that Nigeria was in many ways starting to do that. But I just wondered what some of the barriers that remain are. Are the biggest kind of barriers to the private sector and the public sector working together, are they around things like relationships, or are they more to do with things like regulation getting in the way and bureaucracy? What in your mind are some of the really big barriers to those partnerships?
The barrier to partnership is trust. That's the biggest barrier. And the trust comes from 2 potential partners that have their considered views and opinions about the other partner. And if those are not addressed, you will never achieve trust. So the private sector, for instance, indeed, let me not say the private sector, the non-state actor coming to deal with the Nigerian public service has certain assumptions. One, that there's a lot of corruption in the system. And by corruption, I'm not alluding just to the economic transaction. I'm talking about a lack of merit. I'm talking about nepotism and all of that, and things that will not lead to a competitive good result. Okay? On the other hand, the state actor, the public servant, looks at the private sector or the private sector partner and says, you have an agenda. You have an agenda to impose a view on me. You have an agenda to benefit for yourself. You have an agenda to, if you like, shape my country, which I'm here to defend, in your image. Okay? So time has to be spent building the trust required to build, to pull down the walls, if you like, that stand between working together. That is the most important barrier that I think needs to be overcome. We have spent a lot of time in building that trust. The relationship that that exists between our organization and the Federal Civil Service and the federal government has been built painstakingly over almost 10 years. And it hasn't been easy. But one thing that I have found is that surprisingly to me, a lot of the things that the paradigms that we have in our minds about the other partner are dispelled simply by spending time together. Yeah. Spending time, not just formally, but also informally. So we eat together. I visit the homes of my partners. They visit my homes. We interact. You might be on a walking tour somewhere, but whilst you are there, make time to spend 3 or 4 hours visiting, I don't know, some ruins, and just learn about each other. Everybody has family. Everybody has issues. And you work through those issues together, and it makes all the difference.
And thank you. People like that answer. My third question actually builds on that very nicely, because you say spend time together. Do you think there is a space for more actual secondments where people are spending time working in each other's sector so that they can get a shared understanding of the different environments that people are coming from?
Certainly. I would. Now, this is a message to my friends in government. It's not easy to spend time together. And so we have to be very deliberate. And what I mean by this is this. Amidst all the pressure, amidst all the challenges, amidst all the deadlines, we can find ourselves withdraw even after coming together to meet these needs and so on. So we have to be very deliberate we have to institutionalize the time we spend together. Secondments are very important. But not just secondments. The idea of joint sessions, joint working sessions, joint strategy sessions, the idea of a cadence of activities that involve both parties working together and not moving from that cadence is critical, because the more we move apart, I can literally see as a great reform effort is underway and you've come together, and then as you get into the nitty-gritty of that reform effort, doing all the work, and then you spend less and less time, and literally I can see almost a correlation with spending less time and the reform effort stalling.
So it's like any relationship. You have to keep working at it. You have to keep putting that time in.
It's a great way you've put it. I mean, somebody told me that a relationship is it's just like a garden. The more you tend it, the more you attend to it, the garden flourishes. The less you do, of course, the beautiful flowers begin to wither.
Thank you. Well, what a nice note to end on before we go to the audience. Beautiful flowers. Who would like to ask the first question? See the lights up here. If you put your hand up, we will get a microphone to you. Who would like to ask the first question on anything to do with building partnerships between the different sectors? See, I'm going to make sure I go to all the corners of the room, not just the front here. Who has the first question?
It's difficult to see.
It's difficult to see, yes. Yes, we've got one over there, thank you. If we could get the microphone over here, that would be great. If you could say who you are, please, before you ask your question. Thank you.
Thank you. I am Anthony Usazo Kungowa, Head of Service, Edo State. Let me thank our brother for the beautiful presentation this morning. I am very excited, and I must thank you for all that you are doing, the time, the resources you are putting into building and fostering partnerships. We are very, very thankful to you. Just one or two questions. You mentioned something that struck me, which is that we are not exactly where we should be in terms of partnerships. And I'm wondering, are we where we shouldn't be? On a scale of 1 to 10, where exactly are we? Are we doing things that we shouldn't be doing, or are we not doing things that we should be doing? I would like you to throw more light on that. The second point I would like to make is that there seems to be a lot of emphasis on partnerships at the federal level. There's many of us here today that are from the states. I tell you, about 21 states civil services are represented here at this event. That shows the level of the support, the level of the interest that is there at the second tier of government. So I'm wondering, what can the state governments do? What can the state civil services do to get to that level where it will become interesting to also have partnerships with them? So we can, how can we drill down? How can we get the benefits of these partnerships that are happening almost essentially, at the federal level? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. I'll just repeat the question in case people didn't hear, because it's quite noisy in the room. So I think you asked, where are we in Nigeria? So where are we in terms of building these relationships that you were talking about? What more could be done? And then secondly, at the state government level, how can they do all of this, and how can they reap the benefits of these good partnerships?
Thank you very much. So the first question you asked basically is, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is the way I see it, okay? In terms of what we should be doing, where are we? I would say that in terms of partnership, I would say that certainly not very high. So the glass is not half full. Maybe the glass is 1/4 full. There's so much room for more to be done as far as partnerships are concerned. Now, in terms of us approaching partnership the wrong way, are we approaching partnerships the wrong way? I'll say no. I don't think that there's anything from the public sector standpoint that is being done negatively. No, in that respect, my own experience, both at the federal and the state level, is that I have seen a willingness to partner. I've seen a willingness to make the necessary investments around partnership. So that is not the challenge. I think the challenge more is learning how to do more of what we should be doing to ensure that partnerships is endangered. Now, I will then go to your second question to illustrate the answer, or to give the answer to the how question. So, if you look at any state in Nigeria, the question that faces the state, and I'm talking now about the federal expression of states, okay? So each of our 36 states. The question is always posed around resources. Help us mobilize resources. Help us mobilize our ability to fund development. I don't think that is the question that faces the Nigerian state government. The question that faces the Nigerian state government is, how can we lead better? Help us bring the leadership capacity that will solve our problems. That is what you should be finding partners for. And by leadership capacity, I'm talking about capacity that trains, capacity that builds, capacity that exposes, and so on. The willingness and readiness of the world to host a state government to a trip somewhere, a country that faces similar challenges, or a state that faces similar challenges to yours, is, I can say it is simply, there is no limit to it. So the question therefore is that, how does that state government key into the type of partners that will bring you to see how problems are solved, that will bring your leadership to share notes and share ideas around how challenges can be solved? And that's what I think you should focus on. Now, unfortunately, our foundation has limited resources, which is why we focused on the largest impact, which is the center, the federal government. But from a strategy standpoint, as to a playbook as to how to find partners, I think we should work on that in our foundation and share it with the state governments, and maybe the head of service will facilitate a national retreat whereby we can help the states be more effective in finding development partners.
Thank you. Who has the next question? I'm going to try and see the lights here. If you put your hand up really high, because it's quite hard to see here, and we will get the microphone to you. While we're waiting for the next question, just building on that question, I was wondering, are there countries or regions around the world where you would say they are doing this really well, where they do have these relationships in place?
So if I think about, the funny thing I've found is that where countries have benefited from partnering with those who have done it successfully, those countries in themselves become great partners.
Right.
So if you think about Singapore, if you think about Qatar and the United Emirates, generally the Gulf region, even within Africa, if you think about, Rwanda, if you think about Tanzania, these countries have been always ready and willing to assist others. Okay? Right. There are many more. I mean, there are, of course, in Europe, you have the UK. We've gotten so much support from, I'm saying, the foundation, working together with institutions in the UK. Take note also that it doesn't have to be the country. It could be institutions within the country. The universities, the think tanks, international agencies, and so on. There are quite a few, to be honest.
Thank you. Okay, we do have time for another question, so let me see if we have a question. Yes, there's a lady back there. If we could get the microphone. If you keep your hand up, or you've got the mic, if you say who you are, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Oluwatoyin Olabanji from the Federal Ministry of Youth Development. I'd like to say a very big thank you, sir, for that beautiful presentation, and also to thank you for your contribution and support to the growth of the Federal Civil Service. Now to my question, sir. You mentioned trust, which I feel is very key now. Rebuilding that trust in the civil service. Can you please recommend steps that we can take? I'm talking about practical steps that we can take to rebuild that trust between the civil service and external partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Toyin, I think, for your question. I want to paint a picture for you. So here is our foundation that is funded by my wife and I and our family interests, a decision that we've taken that the wealth benefits that has been created from operating and being blessed in Nigeria should be given back to Nigeria. But then, we are naturally sensible stewards of wealth. So there have been scenarios where I have sat with a public servant, a leader, or a team of public servants, and they have explained things they want to do and what it's going to take to get those things done. And I want to express them in monetary terms. I want you to think about what that public servant must do with me in our relationship to get me to the point where I listen to what you are saying and I say, okay, fine, I will support you with $1 million. $1 million is 1.6 billion naira today. What is it? And that happens in my conversations with civil servants and public leaders today. So what is it that you will do to win my trust to the point where I have the confidence in listening to you to say that I am not a government. It has no business benefit to me. It has no profit benefit to me. It involves me extending my time, my financial resources, and perhaps even at personal risk to partner with you, okay? What is it that you must do to put me in that position that I have such confidence in you that I will say I am going to put myself out for you and the cause that you are pursuing? Let me tell you what you must do. The first is this. I must see that you are passionate and committed to the mandate that you have. There is something that they say, as a leader, measure your leadership by the readiness of people to sacrifice for the cause that you pursue. The more people who look at you, look at what you do, look at what you say, what you represent, and because of that, they are willing to sacrifice personally, just simply on the strength of that. That's the first step. The next thing that wins my trust is how sound is this journey you want us to go on together. I'm not talking about how risk-free is it. I'm not talking about how easy is it. Just simply how sound. In other words, have you thought it through? The third thing is I look at your team. I look at the people around you. And I ask myself the question, if something happens to you, what happens to this initiative? The more I feel that it's a one-man show, the more concerned I am around sustainability and so on. Now, there are other considerations, but I've just given you a few. So the first I said was your passion and commitment to the cause. The second thing, how sound is your cause? And the third thing is, do you have a team of, if you like, followers, disciples, who, if you fall, or if you are taken out of the picture, will continue to run the race? There are others. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have a final question? Yes. Could we have the microphone here, please? We'll just get a microphone to you, sir. Could we have the microphone down here, the white chairs, about 4 rows back? We've got
sorry.
there, and then we'll take this. So we've got 2 questions. If you keep your hand up, we'll get a microphone to you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Muhammad Uluze, the head of service of Borno State. The partnership is supposed to be a two-way relationship. And some organizations, governments, perhaps states, may not have anything to offer. Is it possible to have partnership without the partner getting anything in return? Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't. Did you catch the end of that? You did, yeah.
I did.
Thank you, sir.
It's a very interesting question. He said that, is it possible to have a partnership without one partner getting something in return? It's impossible. But I think that it's such a profound question that it gives me the opportunity to explain something. You say that in a state, you went to the resource issue. And let us assume that this state describes itself as not having much to offer. Do you know what it means to me if I visit any state in this country and the governor of that state, a senior public servant, give me time to understand what that state is going through? Do you know how important that is to me? Do you know how important that is to governments? Do you know how important that is to a foreign partner like Bill Gates? Give me 6 hours of your time to understand what you are going through. Do you know what it means to me when I see that you are being honest? You are sharing your pains. You are sharing the truth. You are revealing to me issues and things that nobody has ever seen. Now you say you have nothing to give. Of course you have so much to give, but you have to learn how to give it. When you learn how to give it, what it unlocks is, I remember the first time I went to Dubai in the early 90s. I remember one road. I remember 2 hotels. I remember an airport where I sat on the floor alongside there were global film stars who were shooting a film in Dubai at that time. The airport was overflowing. It was so full, we were sitting on the floor. But that nation learned how to open itself up, learned how to vision with others, learned how to make people have confidence in it, and learned how that beyond oil, actually in this desert, by riding camels with your friends, by drinking juice in the night over roasted meat, we could build an oasis in the desert that the whole world will come to. In every state, Niger, Cross River, Osun, Zamfara, this dream of Dubai can be a reality. It means that we must remember, be passionate, really passionate and committed to that reality. If you have the passion, if you have the commitment, in a world of so much power, resources, and capacity, what you need to do is attract it to come and work with you, to feel the power of humanity and to transform the humanity in your own locality. Thank you.
Brilliant, fantastic answer there, wonderful answer. We have time for the final question here. I think it's a gentleman here. If you'd like to say who you are, thank you.
Yes. Good morning, sir. My name is Sanusi Aliyu Name Bindiga. I'm Director of Partnership and Funds Mobilization with the Nigerian Police Trust Fund. Sir, I would want to commend you and thank you very proportionately for what you've been doing to Nigeria, especially through the Access Group and what you're doing through your foundation, you and your family. I think it's very commendable. It is an exemplary thing that other people in your category should emulate. And sir, you would recall I said I'm Director of Partnership with the Nigerian Police Trust Fund. These are 2 words you mentioned that actually piqued my interest. Sir, the partnership you are currently doing with the civil service is commendable. I would want to ask you to please also consider the security aspect of the country, especially the police. They are in charge of our internal security. They make the environment safe for investors like you and for all Nigerians and civil servants alike to have a peaceful living. So please, sir, come and work with Nigeria Police Trust Fund in partnership. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. A great advertisement for the police.
I thought people might start putting their hands up then. You're going to get lots of requests, I think. We do have a few minutes left, so we will take that final question, the gentleman behind there.
I'm taking it. Good morning. My name is Councillor Nana Oguntola. I'm from Milton Keynes in the UK, but I'm an author as well and a producer. Now, I have a question, or I have a statement to make. One of the things I think is a major problem for Africans at home and Africans in the diaspora is a lack of knowledge and understanding of who we are, I think, as a foundation and our history. Recently, I wrote a book about African queens, and I only did that because I grew up in the Gambia, and I did not know we had African queens till I was 18 years old, and I went to Ghana, and I found out there was such a thing. And 30 years later, as I started to research this woman, I found another 20 African queens. I was almost 50. And the shock of it, that we went to school all my life, and nowhere in that school curriculum was an education of who we were as a people. So I think that that affects and impacts on our understanding, how we relate to ourselves, how we value ourselves, and how therefore the world values us. So I think that that's a really important starting point, that at school, the curriculum, how we're teaching our children, this generation, in order to change the trajectory of where we are, in order for us to own our future, that's really important. So my question to you as a leader, as a thought leader, is how do you think you can support something like this? How can you work with education? How can you work with young people? How can you help to develop or encourage a new curriculum so that we can change our mindset? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Recently, I had cause. So I'm a child of civil servants. My parents were civil servants. And more particularly, my parents operated in the aspects of the civil service that had responsibility for arts and culture and things related to, if you like, the creative sector and the creative economy. And so, given that was my growing up reality, I have a passion for the arts. I have a passion for culture. I have a passion for creative expression. And so I've been as I come sometimes in touch with government in this respect, I have asked the question of government and of myself, that how can one of the most powerful cultural parts of the world, which is Nigeria, so Nigeria has actually some of the most powerful cultural expressions of humanity. Think about the Benin Kingdom. Think about the several emirates across, the northern part of Nigeria. I can just go on and on, but that's not. Now, why is it that it has to break through? So it breaks through without strategic thought. And when it breaks through, the impact is still world, it shakes the world. So you think about Afrobeats, you think about Dirty December. So our creative expression in Nigeria is so powerful that without organizing it, the world still wants it. Now imagine if we organize it. Imagine if we organize it. So I then went and I said, where have I seen people organize themselves in such a way that their creative expression becomes something that the world wants more of? And I said to myself, think about the Gulf region. Think about Dubai and how so much of the world measures cultural expression actually from what is happening in Dubai, okay? Whether through tourism, whether through it being a travel hub, and so on. And I then said, let me actually see what is happening from a government policy standpoint. And I went and did my own self-study of the creative sector strategy for the United Arab Emirates. And when I saw it, I said, if we can do this in Nigeria, we will take the world. So, the issue, and I hope that indeed I hope we do it, because there are so many parts of our existence as people in Nigeria that will be transformed insofar as we address the management issue, the management of the policy, the management of the sector, the area that we are dealing with. It will transform. Now, it is not happening in a joined up manner. So yes, you have Dirty December. You have a Nigerian artist going. Now let me tell you a conundrum. I watch TV or I watch the news and I see Wizkid has gone to this country and is filling an arena. They show the arena, I don't know, O2 or whatever it is in the UK, XYZ arena in whatever it is. Now, so 100,000 people, or well, maybe I exaggerate, 30,000 people will show up at an arena in London to watch Wizkid, to watch Burna Boy, and so on, or watch Rema, Thames. Now, do you know why 30,000 people will not show up to watch Burna Boy, Thames, and so on in Nigeria? Obviously, it's not because they don't want to watch, but we don't have one arena. We don't have one arena. So our artists have to go out to perform their concerts at scale, but they can't perform those concerts at scale for us. Now, an arena costs, depending on the size, anything between $50 million, you push it to $100 million. Imagine if we had 4 arenas, one in Abuja, one in Lagos, one, I don't know where else, okay? And we gave the ability of our stars expression here in Nigeria. Wouldn't things be completely different? So my answer to you is simply this. When we get together with people who have traveled that road, we make them partners of us, we agree to build the trust between partners, things will change. Whether it's the creative sector, whether it is the technology sector. And actually, let me say something.
I'm afraid we've got 30 seconds.
Give me one last comment. One day, my wife landed in Abuja for a function with the Federal Civil Service. And the flight lands quite early in the morning. So I kind of was expecting her to call me because she had landed. I noticed that the call was made not more than 5 minutes after my expected arrival time for the flight. And she called me and she was so excited. And she landed in Abuja. And she said, Igboche, I've just gone through electronic gates. It's faster in Abuja Airport than it is in Heathrow. The experience in Abuja Airport was fantastic. The entry experience was just outstanding. I saw a public servant, I think he's here, the Minister of Interior. Is he here?
He's speaking in a moment.
I applaud you and your team of civil servants. I applaud you and your team of civil servants that have, I just want to show you that it happens, it can happen. But what we need to do is come together so it's happening in many places at the same time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please join me in a warm round of applause for Igboche. That's your inspiration. I mean, you're inspirational there. Your passion shines through. And I think if the audience will take away one thing from what you've said, it's that building relationships and having that trust is so important. And it's all about that human element, I think, of letting people in and sharing your challenges and being honest with each other. I think that's a really good message for everyone to take away.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you. Just to say before we do some very quick photographs and we go into our final session before the President comes, if you are due to be on a round table or any other stage, please head there straight away. Thank you. If you'd like to take your seats, we'll begin our next session in a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Testing 1, 2, 4.
Okay, everyone, we're going to begin. So if you are in the aisles, if you would like to take your seats, that would be brilliant. I know we have to be strict on time for this one because this is the last session before
Hello,
I think
1,
we
2.
go into
Testing,
more of a
right?
lockdown before
1,
the President
2, 4.
arrives.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay, we're going to start the final session of the morning before the President arrives. And this session, the topic is all about leadership and institutional innovation. We're going to be talking about the role of leadership in driving innovation. And I'm really delighted to introduce my fellow speaker here for this session. So we have with us the Honourable Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, who is, as we just heard, the Minister of Interior for the Government of Nigeria, with over 17 years of experience in project and strategic management. He has established himself as a leading authority in the public and the private sectors. Throughout his career, Dr. Tunji-Ojo has held various positions, including CEO of Matrix IT Solutions Limited, and his experience spans critical sectors such as oil and gas, information technology, finance, management consultancy, and manufacturing. So you come with a broad range of expertise and experience. And in August 2023, Tunji Ojo was appointed the Minister of Interior and has focused, as we heard, on transformation of some of the country's key infrastructure areas, so parliamentary agencies, including the Nigeria Immigration Service, Nigeria's Security and Civil Defense Corps, and the Nigerian Correctional Service and the Federal Fire Service. You have a huge remit that you have taken on. Tunji Ojo is committed to institutional growth, human capital development and economic progress, and ultimately, I think, to improving the quality of public service and the quality of people's lives. It's wonderful to have you here with us. I'm going to, as I did before, the same format, I'm going to invite you to give your opening remarks, your opening presentation, and we'll have a bit of a conversation, and if we have time, we'll take questions from the audience, if that's okay with you. But over to you.
Your Excellency, the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, Dame Didi Walton-Jack, all senior government officials here present, and let me especially recognize Dr. Dere Awoshika. The last time I saw you, you were permanent secretary, I think, Ministry of Agric then. It's been a long time ago, I think. And of course, let me also recognize my brother, my friend, one of the leading mentors that we've had the opportunity of having in Nigeria. That's, Ike. I want to welcome you especially, and all senior officials, developmental partners. The topic I'll be speaking about today is actually one of my favorites because we're talking about innovation. Too many times, I'm sorry, it's not going to be just like a normal presentation. I will have to, most times, speak from the heart, because I think for you to innovate, it means that you must think out of the box. You cannot innovate when you're repeating the same thing. You have to be novel. You have to be able to do something very special. And let me say this very clearly, especially to political office holders. Personally, in my 2 years as minister, I've been so lucky, extremely lucky, to have some of the best civil servants as permanent secretaries. That's the truth. And I started with Dr. Toyin Akinlade, very wonderful person. Then there came, I can see the princess of Niger, Aisha too, Dayako, very cerebral, very wonderful. And of course, the Amazon, the dazzling dazzler of the Ministry of Interior, my own baby girl, Magdalene Ajani. So for us in the Ministry of Interior, we understand, because I said I was going to speak from the heart, that for you to innovate, for you to achieve anything, the most important thing is teamwork. Teamwork and trust. We find it difficult most times to break new grounds in public service, because too many times we try to micromanage, we try to do things all by ourselves. But when you embrace teamwork and understand that in government, you can only win together, and when you lose together. It is only then that the role of the political leadership of our various institutions, and of course, the role of the permanent secretary as chief accounting officer will be able to work together in a seamless way. For me, my topic is rejuvenate, innovate, and accelerate, the role of exemplary leadership in driving innovation. Leadership is not ability to do everything by yourself. And leadership is not you knowing everything, but leadership is about you being able to manage diverse people with diverse backgrounds to achieve a collective result. That is leadership. And most oftentimes, you see that the best leaders are not the best technocrats, but the best leaders are the best managers of human resources. And for you to innovate, for you to break new grounds, you need to be able to manage people. You need to be able to give people the confidence. You need to be able to earn the trust of people. The most important ingredient in all of this is trust. If your followers cannot trust you, you will not expect them to sacrifice for you. They can only give you their best, obviously, when they know that you have their back. When they know that it's about mutual respect. Leadership and followership is a function of respect. Respect those you're leading, and they will respect you. When a leader needs to force people, compel people to do what is right, that is not leadership. Leadership is ability to make people see the reason why trends must change, the reason why rhythm must change, and the reason why they must do what they ought to do. And trust me, they will do it better than your imagination. But when leadership is an instrument, when force becomes an instrumentality of leadership, that becomes dictatorship. And once it is about dictatorship and autocracy, believe me, they will do it, but they will not do it with a flair. It's like an artist. When an artist loves his job, when an artist goes to the stage and he's happy, trust me, you will see it from his performance. It's the same thing with civil service. Even as permanent secretaries, even as directors, we must make people have confidence in our leadership. We must make sure that people believe in our mission. People key into our vision. Once be the one to be telling them that it's enough. But when they do not key into your vision, believe me, you might think you are leading them, but guess what? You are only leading yourself. Because when the ships are down, they will not be there to have your back. So as I start my presentation, I decided to go on that preamble that in whatever we do as leaders, in whatever we do as permanent secretaries, in whatever we do as directors, when you go back to that office, ask yourself, how well do my followers trust me? How well do they believe in me? Trust me, most followers do not just do a job because they love the job. They do the job because they love the leader. They love who is in charge, and they want to sacrifice for you. In football, we say it, footballers don't play for flair. Footballers play for the coach. If they don't like the coach, you will see a team performing badly. When they love the coach, they give 110%. For you to innovate, for you to break new grounds, you must go beyond the ordinary. You must put that little thing called extra. It is that little extra in the ordinary that turns to the extraordinary. So for you as leaders, when you go back to that office, earn the confidence of your followers. Do not just be a boss, be a leader. Do not just be that person that is feared. Be a leader that is respected. When people respect you, they will do everything for you. In the Ministry of Interior, my PAMSEC is here. We work as a family. In the Ministry of Interior, and before she came, Aisha too is here. Most times, when something comes, PAMSEC, please handle. I trust their judgment. Show that you trust people. When you plant the seed of doubt, in the mindset of your followers, what you get is rebellion. That is the truth. Show that you trust people. When you trust people, people will sacrifice for you. At this juncture, if you permit me, I cannot go into the presentation. Thank you. Yeah. In the first place, when we talk about innovation in public service, I made this presentation some times ago somewhere. And I said, for you to innovate, for you to make a change, there are 3 questions as a leader you must ask yourself. And as you leave this hall today, when you go back, because the essence of this summit is not just to be a talk shop, it's for us to be better leaders, better public servants, and better individuals. The first thing for you to innovate as a leader is you must first of all understand what's your purpose. What is your purpose? I tell you, there are a lot of people today that do not even understand what they are aimed to achieve. When I became Minister of Interior, I think it was myself and my former PAMSEC, Aishetu, we went to Zone A, Immigration, in Lagos, in Ikeja. I asked a lot of the officers. A lot of them, they've been doing the same thing for like 20 years. I asked them, tell me your job function. What do you do? We interviewed about 10 people. Only one person could tell us his role, what he does. So it means he goes to the office every day not knowing what he's billed to do. How do you expect performance? So the first question as a leader, you must ask yourself. There are 3 questions. My presentation will be very brief. Just 3 questions that you must ask yourself. The first question is what I call the what question. The what question is a question of purpose. It's a question of ambition. It's a question of target. It's a question of what is my mandate? What am I supposed to do? If you do not have clarity of purpose, it's like a man who does not know his preferred destination. Everywhere he gets to becomes his destination. If a man does not know he's going to New York, if they take him to London, he will just see the light. He will think he's in. You must know where you're going to. What is your purpose? A lot of us, we are PAMSECs. A lot of us, we are directors. A lot of us, we supervise ministries, we supervise agencies. But guess what? A lot of us do not even understand the Establishment Act of agencies that we supervise. If you have not read the Establishment Act of all agencies under you, trust me, you cannot supervise them. You cannot provide the lead. You must first of all ask yourself, what do you want to achieve? If you are PAMSEC, what do you want to achieve? Because you are meant to be the engine room. We politicians, ministers, DGs, we are meant to provide political leadership and policy direction. But you are meant to be the engine room. You must understand what is your target. In that ministry that you are the PAMSEC, what is the call that you are supposed to do? A lot of people carry the mentality, they leave ministry of Agric, for example, to ministry of Interior. They leave ministry of Education as PAMSEC, they go to Ministry of Defense. The function, yes, it might be the same superficially, but in terms of the call, in terms of the technicality, they are different. You must take that pain of understanding what you are supposed to do. You must take the pain of understanding what the problem statement is. You can't find a solution to a problem you do not understand. You must take your time, understand the gap. What are the gaps? what are the areas that you need to fill? You must understand this. It is only when you do. Let me give you one truth. If you are a PAMSEC and you are cerebral and you know your duties and you know what you are supposed to do, your minister will respect you. It's possible for the political head not to like your face, but he will identify your brain. That is the truth. Wherever you are, add value. You can only add value to what you know. So please, the first question you need to ask yourself, even beyond the office, even in your private life, even in your personal life, a lot of you are towards the end of your career. In few years, you'll be retired. You have to ask yourself, what do you want to do? What is your ambition? It's the first statement of purpose in leadership. When I became Minister of Interior, the first question I asked myself is, what do I want to achieve? Knowing what you want to achieve, meaning that you understand the problem. Knowing what you want to achieve will lead you to what the problems are, what are the gaps. A lot of us today, we've been in ministries, we've been in agencies for so many years. Still, we don't have a gap analysis report of our agencies. You do not have a gap analysis report of your ministry. You do not understand the gaps. When you do not understand a gap, how do you fill it? You cannot fill a gap you do not understand. You cannot take advantage of an opportunity that you cannot identify. Identification is the basis, is the foundation of innovation. You must identify. So please answer the what question. Once you answer the what question, the next question you need to answer within yourself is what I call the when. Is what I call the how question. Sorry. When I talk about the how is a question, is something that talks about strategy. It's something that talks about methodology. It's what talks about approach. It's what leads you to your solution statement. The first one is problem identification. That is the what. The second one is about methodology and approach. How do you want to achieve this? So in your office, in your various places, understand how you want to do that. And I have to say this very clearly. This number 2 is very, very important, is very, very key. And I'll tell you why it's important and key. Please, don't take my statistics for it. When you live here, go and do your research. Most countries in the world, in fact, as a matter of fact, the top 5 biggest economies in the world, 4 of the 5 biggest economies in the world are the top spenders in research and development, R&D. When you look at Huawei, last year alone, Huawei spent $24.8 billion on research and development. Alphabet, which you call Google, spent $37.8 billion last year on research and development. It means that identifying a problem is the foundation of the solution. But what is your methodology? That is where research comes in. And that is one of my, I'm sorry, PAMSEC, you will allow me to be blunt. You know me, you've known me too long a time. I always say my mind, you know. One thing, that is one of the areas, the gaps that I see in the civil service, with due respect, PAMSEC, is that research PRS department in most ministries, they've become so redundant. But the heart of every ministry should be PRS. You can't execute what you don't plan. You can't plan on what you don't research. That is the truth. So we must come up in the 21st century. Can we have a civil service that is 20th century compliant? The answer is a no. But the solution to that rebranding, the solution to that reformation, the solution to that transformation, the solution to that reorganization of the civil service in our various areas lies in the research department of our various agencies. So for us to have a civil service that be 21st century compliant, we must invest heavily in research and development. There is no company, even if it's a service-driven company, even if all you do is marketing, you must invest in research. Because if you don't understand the market trend, you will be given an obsolete solution. So for us, the question of methodology, one, identify the problem, identify the gap. What are the vulnerabilities? What are the issues? Then number 2, what is your strategy? What is your methodology of solving this problem? You must have that. And that is why I want to plead with the civil service that let us invest more in planning. Trust me, your destination is already defined, and that's going to be bad. A good plan is a good output, if well executed. Then the third question, because of our time, is what I call the when question. A lot of people, a good timeline or milestone delivery is just wishful thinking. There are a lot of people, even in their personal lives, I want to achieve this, I want to do this, this is how I will do it, but there are no timelines. That is why so many people, what they are supposed to have achieved within 2 weeks, they will do it in 2 months and people will be clapping for them. No, that is not efficiency. Productivity is a function of efficiency. And the civil service of the 21st century is based on the premise of efficiency and productivity. But for you to be productive, there must be timeline. These are the targets. In the Ministry of Interior, my PAMSEC is here. She knows that by December, we know what we want to achieve. By March, every quarter, we know what we want to achieve. When the British High Commissioner, His Excellency, came to my office, we told you we're going to do this by this time. And I told you May 1, this we go. You have to have timelines so that you will not achieve something in your 3rd year and you'll be clapping. Meanwhile, you're supposed to have done it in your 1st year. So as civil servants, let us run civil service with the kind of efficiency and productivity that we will want for ourselves. So the 3 questions, as I've said, is the what question, which is the identification of the problem. 2 is the how, that is methodology of implementation. 3, it is when, that is when do I achieve this. When you set a target, please make sure there are milestones by this. So if there is a lack, you can monitor your efficiency. A lot of people are inefficient today, not because they are deficient, but because they do not understand the principle of time and season. That's the truth. Even beyond government work, even in private life. Because I always tell people, if you are a bad person, you'll be a bad PAMSEC. If you see somebody, they say, this PAMSEC is bad, just know he's a bad person. Take that person to any religious institution, he will be bad. Go and make him a pastor, he will embezzle money. Take him to anywhere, that's the truth. That's the simple truth. So for you, you must first of all, like Aristotle said, understanding oneself is the beginning of wisdom. A man who conquers himself conquers the world. The first thing, conquer yourself. Identify your flaws. Too many people wait for people to tell them their flaws. And my favorite quote in life, Shakespeare, to thyself be true. Tell yourself the truth. Conquer yourself. Do not pretend to yourself. In your office, wherever you find yourself, have I identified the gaps? Question 1. 2, do I have a solution framework? Question 2. Then question 3 is, what are the milestones? When do I want to achieve these things? And that is why, before I go to interior being specific, that is why so many agencies today and ministries, they wait for proposals before they know what to do. And when you are waiting for any proposal to come before you know what to do, every marketer will become a solution provider. And there's a difference between a marketer and a solution provider. So please, for you to innovate, understand these 3 questions, and trust me, wherever you find yourself, even in your private life, you will just see yourself flying and conquering the world. Also, this is the last slide before we just take you through what we've done in Ministry of Interior. When you talk about mentorship, when you talk about innovation, you cannot divorce the role of mentorship, please. Let's get this straight. A lot of us today will be leaving the service anytime soon. Ask yourself, Who have you mentored to be a better version of you? You are not around. There is no director that can think like you and read your mind and know what you would have done if you were to be there. Then you cannot say you've done well. So please, ask yourself this last question. Who have I mentored or who am I mentoring? If you leave the service and you don't leave a larger chunk of you in different people, then it's an act of disservice. Who are you mentoring? The Ministry of Interior, as a case study, I'll be very fast. When we came on board, before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was elected as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we had a scenario where the ministry was not working together. But, the agencies and everything, information sharing was a problem. And what did we do? We brought in technology. As I always say, technology is not meant to replace the process, but technology is meant to be a catalyst. A lot of us, our fear is that technology will replace the process. Technology will only be a catalyst. Through President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the last 1 year, 2 years, we have what we call a centralized interior management and administration system. And you can see what happened because of this solution. Most of us, we saw the newspaper, the cover page of, I think it was The Punch, on Saturday, when they recorded that an inmate was arrested when he was trying to procure passports, right? Did we read it? But what happened? Thank God for this solution. They didn't know that we've integrated all our solutions to just one backend, one solution. So the inmate, through one corrupt officer, took the inmate to a passport office to get a passport. But unknowingly to them, the passport application system is already integrated with the correctional information management system, as well as the criminal records. We've integrated the whole thing. Before the president came, it will have gone through. But they didn't know. So as the guy got there, they took his fingerprint. The system automatically brought it, and they said, okay, sit down well. And they called correctional service to come and arrest the person. So imagine a scenario if that had not been done. An inmate would have gotten a passport and probably used that, to vamoose. But today, every information is centralized. Through the Ministry of Interior, we've been able to...
Minister, I'm just giving you a warning that we have to finish on time, and if you want to take questions, we've got 10 minutes left.
No, I have just 3 minutes, I'll be done. So, some of the solutions that we have been able to develop in the last 20 months, these are some of the solutions, and this is the way the whole solution now works with the system. So there's a centralized system where everything works. So there's a lot to talk about, but of course, because of our time. So, and most importantly, as my brother spoke about, we have our e-gates now in our airports. And beyond that, for people coming into Nigeria now, it's easier. With your e-visa, within 48 hours, max 72 hours, you have response. And in our first month alone of the e-visa, we sorted over 10,000 applications in 1 month. That's a record in Nigeria. Now, people who want to come to Nigeria, you don't need to call the minister. You don't need to call anybody that knows anybody. You can easily sit in the comfort of your house, just like you do in other countries, apply for the e-visa, it's processed, and you get it. And imagine somebody who stays in British Columbia in Canada, who will need to travel maybe like 6 hours to go to Ottawa to go and get a visa. That is no more the case. Imagine some of us, we have our children abroad. Before now, they will fly, they will lose a day work and etc. just to get Nigerian passport. But now, to renew our passport, what do we do in diaspora? It's contactless renewal system, just like it's done all over the world. So you do not need to live where you are. All you need to do is to stay 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You renew your passport. So for us, this is renewed hope in the Ministry of Interior. This is renewed hope, which is about bringing succor to Nigerians. A lot of other things that we have been able to do in the Ministry of Interior. Now we have an 8.3 petabyte data center, which is the first in immigration. We never had that before this government came. So there are a lot of other things that we've done. But because of our time, there are a lot of things that the Ministry of Aisha, I know you can see yourself. There are a lot of things that we have been able to do in NIMSI, across board. So because of our time, because I want to give time for questions, I would like to stop here. But before I go, please remember the 3 things I said. Ask yourself these 3 questions. What, how, when? And the final one, who are you mentoring? Are you creating a better version of you? When you retire and you leave that office, will you be leaving a better version of you behind to continue to resuscitate and work for the progress of Nigeria? God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. A very big cheer from the audience. We probably only have time for 1, possibly 2 questions. If you've got one, though, could you keep your question as short as possible? Does anybody? Yes. So the gentleman with his hand up there was the first hand to go up. If we could get a microphone here. If you could say who you are and keep your question as short as possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The Honorable Minister, Head of Service of the Federation, all protocol duly observed. Barrister Yusuf Musa, Permanent Secretary, National State Public Service. The Honorable Minister, I think one of the greatest achievements I've made is to be here to hear you speak. You spoke with passion. You spoke with the zeal for your job. But first of all, I would like to thank the Head of Service of the Federation for organizing this thing or hosting this occasion, bringing people like you. You are an inspirer. You are inspiring people. You've inspired me here as I'm talking to you. You may think you spoke for a short while, but I tell you, you took us to the classroom of patriotism, of passion, innovation, love for what you are doing. I think you have no match. We bless the President of the Federal Republic for fishing people like you. If we have leaders like you, I'm so interested when you are talking about synergy between the political leadership and the bureaucracy. That is what is lacking in this country. And I think you are a burden of talent. You are a burden of passion. So, sir.
Thank you.
I want to say that I want to ask this question, sir. Of all these 3, hows, when, and what, identifying the problem, I want to please ask you, this whole thing you've just delivered is just situated in one aspect of the civil service, which is planning, development, and delivery. And one of the biggest problems of the civil service today is that we don't take that department of planning very serious. And I hope that at your own level, sir, can you do something together with the political leadership?
Thank you.
And our able head of service to please develop it as a system, either at the Federal Executive Council, to ensure that that hub of planning, researching is really integrated.
Sorry, I'm going to have to...
integrated everywhere.
Just in the interest of time.
Don't worry, ma. Don't worry, ma. Don't worry, please. Don't worry.
So any thoughts on how can we take planning
We are
more
dealing with
seriously?
inductive senses here. Can I make myself better? If you don't like it, a lot of people like it. So, sir, can we have a policy that will help the civil service integrate that department of planning, research.
Thank you. I think you've got a couple of minutes, and that'll have to be the only question, I'm afraid. So how can you take planning and integrate planning more seriously and professionally?
Well, thank you so much. I think one of the things you give to the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, one of the key attributes is that he's a great, I will say this, I think he's actually he's the greatest headhunter we've seen in the history of Nigeria. And with the amiable head of service of the Federation, she's like the finest of them. I think the best brains should be in PRS. I personally believe that. Because you can only execute what you plan. And you can only plan based on what you understand, what you can think about. So I agree with you.
Thank you. We do have time. One very short question. It would be the final question. If somebody has a short question, I'm just looking to see. Yes, there's a gentleman over there. I think it's a gentleman, I can't see. Yep, gentleman over there. Could we get a microphone there very quickly? If you keep your hand, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, could you say who you are? Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Let me join the other person who spoke earlier to thank you, Honorable Minister, sir, for your presentation. It shows very clearly how charismatic you are as a leader. And I've had the opportunity of speaking with one or two of your people who work closely with you. They are passionate about you. And that's because of the kind of leadership that you bring on board. Thank you very much, sir. Please continue along that line. My question is on evaluation. What is the role of evaluation in leadership? Leadership like a race. And so when you get to a point, perhaps you should look at what is happening. So how often do you have to do that? What is the role of evaluation? And then how often do you have to do that? And when do you have to do that? Following from the examples or things that you told us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I spoke about